of grass.
We sit out here and just look at a grey fence, but look at the trees. So it would be nice to have features and trees in the garden that are ours. And I think generally we're quite OK with gardening, but this is a blank canvas, and that's a daunting task. And so, you know, we're just aware that we might need someone to help us with that.
I think they've reached a position where they're just not quite sure which way to go.
They need someone to come in and just make the decision for them.
They need us to go in and say, it should be like this.
Yeah.
The couple's favourite pastime is travelling around the Mediterranean.
We really enjoy the holidays in Italy and Spain. The light, the sunshine, the colour, you know, it's so enjoyable.
One of my strongest memories is actually some of the morning walks, and the fragrance at that time was fantastic.
There's a lovely warmth that you get from the stone, from the buildings, and from the plants. A little touch of that would be great.
The fact that they have travelled extensively through the Mediterranean, I think it probably, to me, there's an element of that that could start to come through as well.
Yeah, how nice. Evocative of their travels.
Yeah.
What's the budget?
Yeah, well, the budget for this little small space is £5,000.
Oh, wow, lovely.
Yeah, which is brilliant, because I think plant opportunities are going to be great, because we can pull on the Mediterranean ideas, I think, as well. And also, as well, it means we've got enough to get some new hard landscaping in if we need to.
Yeah.
I think it could be a really, really good garden to get our teeth into.
Nice.
Excited by the challenge, the trio head to Shoreham-by-Sea to take a closer look.
It's quite a nice difference coming in through the back gate, isn't it?
Very different.
But I feel like it does make how obvious the garage is.
I know, that is like standing proud. I think that needs some blurring, doesn't it?
Definitely, that's the first thing. Although it's quite an open space, though, isn't it?
Got a few things in here that kind of tell us about that Mediterranean vibe. Obviously, got the bay, we've got the olive there as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, looking at the patio and the path down, that's brilliant. That helps out, doesn't
That's in good nick already.
It's like this little bit here needs redoing.
The trapezium lawn. Should we go inside and see what we can get for inspiration?
Yes.
You go in, and I shall meander in my trapezium lawn.
I love the open planness of this kind of space.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Well, you lead straight through from the kitchen, dining space, right into the living room there.
What I love, though, there's a green thread that runs straight from the kitchen all the way to the living room.
There is.
Harry and David are already getting some style ideas.
Hello.
Hi, Arit.
Hello.
Good to see you both.
While Arit wants to hear if Pat and Jeremy have a more detailed wish list.
We want it to be a nice place to sit, a good little retreat from the world.
Be nice to be a little bit more secluded, because our neighbours, you know, they're too busy to look at us. But, you know, it would just be nice to have a little bit of a space where we could sit. Yeah, I like the Mediterranean feel as well.
I mean, this room has a lot of punch, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But then to have, like, those cushions which are very vibrant.
They're incredible, aren't they? And to be able to inject colour through planting like that, with that kind of vibrancy, I think would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And do you have family that come and visit you and want to...
From time to time, yes, and friends.
So a bit of a small eating space. We're not into big barbecues and discos and parties, but, you know, we like a little small space where we can sit around together.
Yeah.
That natural material is really lovely, isn't it? And overall, with the whole space, it does have a lovely, calming, quite relaxing atmosphere. I mean, each room has a different character, but I think it still feels very enjoyable to be in.
Yeah.
And I think to get that in a garden, considering we're so close to the coast, I'd love to inject a bit of water, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Are there other things that you like? Do you like water features?
I think we're kind of open about that. We'll just see, you know, we haven't particularly thought about that, but quite curious to see what you guys come up with.
Yeah.
I think the other thing for me is I like this idea of a little quiet space retreat.
Yes.
Just for me, for a place for me to sit somewhere, you know, if I'm kind of reading or just having a bit of a reflection on what I'm doing next.
OK, so do you do like a lot of reading, both of you?
I do some mindfulness as well as reading and meditation, so I guess for that reason it's nice for me to have that kind of space. You're more into art and books than I am, really, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, enjoy both.
Oh, right, OK, so that's nice to know. So we're looking for a garden that both of you can come and relax in and enjoy, that it's can have a Mediterranean overtone to it, but you're open to a water feature if it's right for you. You know, you'll look at that. And certainly a space that you can entertain your family and friends, but you're not looking for a big kitchen barbecue area.
No.
Okay, well, I think that's pretty clear to me.
Yeah,
I
well
shall
done.
share those
Cool.
views with the boys and we'll see what we come up with.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
That'd be brilliant.
Thank
yeah.
you.
It's an exciting challenge to transform this plain, narrow plot. Back in Shoreham-by-Sea, it's time for the designers to pitch their ideas.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, guys. Okay. So this is our design. So we know that you guys wanted to have your very own little garden retreat, somewhere that touched on the charm of the Mediterranean, but also had a very lively and artistic character to it as well. So we've got quite a formal design that's got a lot of structure to it, but finds that little bit of character through loose pockets of planting and slightly softer lines. And then we've used hedging to break up the garden into different areas. So quite similar to how your house is laid out.
Yeah.
So it's the idea that you've got these different rooms with different characteristics that you can use at different times, whether it's just yourselves or whether it's your family coming round.
The Rich brothers are creating different rooms with structured hedges and adding height with trees and soft planting to create a secluded, tranquil space. But what has Arit come up with?
Hello.
Hello.
Are you excited?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay. So, taking sort of an artistic, if you like, layout perspective, I've taken sort of the idea of concentric squares and I've slightly shifted them. So as you would walk into this space, these are raised beds. So you've got two on the outer corner and then these two inner ones that give that sort of sense of seclusion. So you'll be totally surrounded by plants at a raised level, so there'll be a much more submersive feeling within the garden.
Gosh, yeah.
This pergola area here would be an open pergola. It's flanked by two multi-stem trees, so again, that will give you that sense of enclosure, but there'll be still kind of light and airy, something like an amelanchier.
Arit is giving the couple the privacy they want by designing her garden around a pergola in the centre of the garden and framing it with raised beds and tall trees.
This area is more for reading a book or drinking a nice cup of coffee. It's somewhere quite informal and just inviting, really. We wanted this to be a very private, very serene retreat. So the water feature was something that we really wanted to put in. So it's just like a stone trough. Something that we want to put in that's very calming, very gentle. You have just the soft sound of water, and you're sitting within the plants, cradled by trees or small trees or large shrubs, and you can just really spend some time just enjoying being out in the garden. And it's got a very different feeling to this middle area, which is more about kind of dining outside and having that little bit more room to sit and enjoy the space.
So what will happen is you'll come out onto the terrace area, but actually immediately give you some viewing points here, and these will be screens, if you like, with your favourite poetry written on them and underplanted and softened with underplanting, and that kind of will act as like a natural sort of screen and slightly give you a bit more of what's the reveal around the rest of the garden.
The brothers are trying to wow Pat with the calming influence of water, while Arit is appealing to both their literary interests. The problem area is the unsightly garage, and Arit's continuing her arty theme.
So rather than hide the garage wall, I've actually embraced it by creating this beautiful piece of art on here, and this is a seating frame. So actually you can go down, and I was thinking about that quiet space where you'd like to do. So either you can turn away from the garden and have a little bit more intimate space and have that piece of art looking at you, or you can turn and look back up at the garden, but it would frame the art here.
Gosh, I find that really interesting, some of those ideas.
And at the moment, the garage is the first thing you see. You look straight down the garden and you look onto that wall. So the idea is just to break it up through layers. And one of the key layers in the garden are the shrubs or the small trees. So they'll really help with their branches, with their canopies. So especially using things like evergreen, it'll help to create that continual block, but through something really beautiful. So it's not like a hard structure, it's the use of nature.
Yeah,
so they'll create these lovely layering, create lovely shadows and loads of seasonal interest as well.
The designers have gone for very different approaches to give Jeremy and Pat the secluded space they want. But how will they address the couple's desire for that all-important Mediterranean feel?
In both areas, we wanted to create a lovely texture on the floor, something that is reminiscent of maybe your trips to the Mediterranean. Yeah. Maybe some nice kind of slightly tumbled cobbles or rounded cobbles, quite light in colour. Using the plants that have maybe a slightly more bluer tone, or warm reds and oranges, things like that.
Yeah.
And then maybe the leaves or some of the stems have that kind of slightly sepia or silvery tone to them. It's that whole idea that it all just adds together to create that lovely layering system that work really well together. But then it's that looseness of planting and maybe having some nice kind of quite punchy kind of primary colours.
Well, I'm conscious that you're Shoreham-by-Sea, so that there's still that idea that you're slightly beach, but again, you can give that Mediterranean sort of overtone through the planting. So all of these raised beds will have the quite soft planting in them, grasses, and I think the idea of actually mixing in your herbs and your vegetable area rather than having this designated vegetable plot, which sometimes can feel overwhelming, is quite nice. And also as well, you know, certainly in France and Spain, it's that potager type feel where they mix in the fruit with the flowers. But as you can see, all the way around here is gravel, which you can plant into. So that means that gives you that sort of Mediterranean type vibe where you can plant in directly, but taking away the lawn.
So the designers are going all out to capture the rustic charm and romance of the Mediterranean that Pat and Jeremy fell in love with. And with that, the pitches are over.
Cheers. See you in a bit, guys.
See ya.
And there's nothing more the designers can do.
Wow. Decision time. All right, so let's start with Rich Brothers.
Yep.
What an interesting design. I didn't expect the water feature.
I didn't introduce any water, though.
So we've got a lovely big body of water.
Oh.
There was a lovely element within this garden, especially because they, you know, of their memories of like going to the Mediterranean and, you know, Italy.
Let's look at Harwich. I think it's a brilliant thing of not trying to hide the garage wall.
We picked up on the garage being a little bit of an eyesore at the moment.
Yeah.
What did you do to it?
I embraced it.
Did you?
Yeah, I did, actually. I thought it's there. And if I screen it so much, it's going to just shorten the garden, so I've embraced it with some artistry.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I've created like a picture frame seat.
Probably myself, I would sit there and maybe, you know, have a look at that, where it frames the painting itself.
And
we
you can
could
look the other way. Yeah.
You know, that's nice kind of flexibility with a garden.
Oh, lovely. So almost like their own little gallery.
Yeah. What did you do with
Well,
it?
we actually blurred it using some shrubs at the back.
Okay.
But we love the idea of having the back end of the garden being really green and very natural because there's nothing nicer than having that kind of filtered, like just letting the garden filter out.
Yeah.
So we actually went for the opposite.
Yeah, well, that'll give him a challenge then, won't it? Yeah,
Yes.
so, OK.
I think it's good that they've made an effort to hide the garage.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's 100% it'll work.
Well, we treated it almost exactly the same as their interior. So they've got an open plan, living space, kitchen, and dining, but they're slightly linked. So we wanted to split this garden up into 3 different rooms, each for different uses. So we've just like divided it quite harshly, but then all the planting and then the materials that we use softens it.
You're so design savvy, aren't you? The outdoor room, indoor room, all right.
Mind you, look at those hedges. That makes me think, are you going to be out there cutting them down, or what the maintenance might be? So we might...
I'll be on the horse jumping over.
It's going to be quite difficult for them, I think, because it sounds as if we've gone quite different.
Yeah, which is
quite
usually trickier, isn't it? Because they
which-
think we've done something very drastically wrong. That's what they're thinking about.
Exactly. We shall see.
OK, we're going to have to decide.
Yes.
So, will they choose the Rich Brothers' secluded retreat with its structured hedges, loose planting and statement water feature? Or will they go for Arrett's mindful art garden with its central pergola, raised beds and peaceful reading area?
Here they come. Hello.
Hello.
Well, it was a very difficult decision, but
Hey!
Straight into it, I like it. No messing about. Caught me by surprise.
And done as a team and a unit, I like that.
Absolutely.
So what made you choose ours?
funnily enough, when we initially were talking about what we wanted, we thought we don't want a water feature. But actually, we do like this one.
Yes.
Well
very
done,
exciting.
thank you.
Very exciting, looking forward to doing it.
The brothers are thrilled with the win, but they'll need Arrett's help to build the couple's Mediterranean retreat. It's the day of the build, and project manager Matt has brought a big team of landscapers. It must be the promise of the Med that's got them all here.
Right then, everybody. Ooh, blank canvas. And it's going to be based around a Mediterranean theme. We've got the main paving area here, and then the second area we're going to have a block and render water feature. And then the third section is going to be more based around planting and a nice seating area.
Lovely.
But we have got to put down a load of cobbles on the base.
Nice.
So we've got a lot of groundwork to do. All good?
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Cool.
Let's do it.
With no lawn required on the brothers' design, that's the first thing that has to go. With the area soon cleared, Matt and the landscapers make a start on building the foundations, including a large water feature, a concrete-walled pond, that will provide a tranquil spot for Pat to sit and relax.
So this is where the pond's going to be, which is the main feature of this area, which is going to look really nice. It's going to be made out of block and renders.
Matt's put Susie in charge of building it.
We're putting the footings in for the pond. This is a mixture of ballast and cement. It gets put into a depth a third of the height of the wall, just to support the weight of the wall. And then once this has gone hard, the blocks get laid on top, cover it in render, and then line the inside of the pond with a liner. And it'll look really nice and really natural, really beautiful.
The rustic look of the pond will tie in with cobbles that are being laid around it in this peaceful area. They're also using them to create the brothers' central courtyard. A layer of sharp sand cement mix has been added to keep the cobbles firmly in place. They bring back happy memories for Matt.
I've grown up with this stuff. I remember my dad doing a barn conversion, and it was all flint, and he spent hours laying these flint walls and doing a flint cobbled courtyard. So yes, it's quite nostalgic, really.
The water feature is ready for the fleece and liner.
Cool, slide her in.
Susie then adds water to keep the liner in place, ready for a final layer of breeze blocks that will be added later. It's important for the brothers that the pond has an authentic Mediterranean look.
Harry wants us to make this look as much like stone as possible, so I'm going to have to be a bit creative with the render, and as I put it on, kind of not be too fussy with it, and just let it evolve somehow. Yeah, should be all right.
With the cobbled courtyard and the water feature taking shape, Arit and the Rich brothers arrive.
Ready to work hard today?
Born ready.
Always.
Nice.
Needs to be working because it's a bit chilly.
It is, yeah.
It is a bit chilly, but soon we're going to be transported into a Mediterranean garden.
Good, happy days.
Lovely. We're going to create a nice little outdoor space for Pat and Jeremy to evoke memories of their holidays to Spain and Italy.
Oh,
Nice.
that's lovely.
Yeah, so with that in mind, Arit, you're going to be focusing on the seating area, making that look gorgeous.
Of course, you can rely on me for that.
And then we're going to be doing some cobbling, some hedging and some planting.
Lovely. I'm looking forward to this garden a lot.
Oh, look at that.
Whoa! Does that look Mediterranean?
Yeah, I think it's the tone, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant. OK, I'll better crack on with my table, my seating area.
Now, this space here is all about softening and the plants. So we have lovely large beds of soft, colourful plants. But on this wall here, we're going to take advantage of its negative space. We're going to utilise it and put a gorgeous specimen on it.
And then as you journey up, this planting bed helps to surround a dining space. And the guy's doing a really great job of laying all the flint cobbles down. And that straight away gives a lovely texture and a lovely kind of Mediterranean vibe to it.
Yeah, and this is definitely more of a social space. But the third space is all about relaxing, and it's more about taking time to enjoy a large water feature. So it's really cool, nice and proud, oversized in this garden, and it really does define this space.
A central cobbled courtyard gives Jeremy and Pat a relaxing area to eat and drink al fresco.
These flint cobbles have already transformed this space. They've got a gorgeous warmth, lovely texture, and I think their size and their irregular shape really helps to portray that slight chaos that you find in the paving or in the stone walls throughout the Mediterranean.
I think what's nice, because they are so irregular, is to actually frame them with quite straight edges, and that gives a slight modernity to it, but also helps to really define these spaces. They're quite pronounced. So I think it's that combination of something that's rustic, very characterful, but in a nice layout that really kind of captures that look.
It does, yeah, and they're really simple to lay as well. It's definitely an extremely time-consuming job, but you lay down a mix of sharp sand and cement. Drier is better, and they come in at about £100 a tonne. So for this whole area here, we're looking at about 2 tonnes. So £200 is really, really good value. But of course, time is money, and it does take quite a while to get them in, doesn't it?
You've got to really enjoy putting together a puzzle. If you like puzzles, you'll love doing this.
While the brothers lay the last of the cobbles, Arit's found a quiet spot outside the garden to make a feature that will add to the Mediterranean flavour.
I'm looking after the seating area, and I'm going to take this plain bistro table, give it the real wow factor by creating a mosaic top. It's really simple to do. Take tiles like this, break them up, create a pattern on top and stick them down. And I think it's going to look really, really fabulous.
Arit starts by carefully breaking up the tiles into small pieces. The art of mosaic dates back to ancient Rome and Greece, and it's quintessentially Mediterranean.
By helping you take out a bit of anger.
Anger with love, though. It's obviously it's a love of creating a mosaic for you.
I love the colours.
The colours are going to be cool, aren't they?
It's the Mediterranean Sea, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, lovely randomised pattern, I'm thinking.
Cool, OK, yeah. Almost like the cobbles.
A bit like the cobbles.
Lovely inspiration.
The cobbles with colour, though. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah, that should be good.
Awesome. I can't wait to see it.
I know. I'm loving this.
Yeah.
A bit of creativity. Yeah. Creativity with a smash.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
OK, see you in a bit. See you in a bit.
The climate in Shoreham-by-Sea doesn't reach the dizzy heights of the Italian Riviera, but David's come up with a canny solution.
Now, we're using lots of Mediterranean plants within this garden. And if you ever want to take any cuttings or propagate any, then a really nice thing to have in your garden is a cold frame. Your cold frame is quite simply a box with either glass or a perspex lid, and it's used to actually create its own slightly warmer microclimate. So not only can you use it to propagate or bring on seedlings, you can actually use it to store slightly more tender plants over winter, and also to continue that growing season slightly for your vegetables in winter as well. So it's a lovely little addition to have in the garden. So the timber that I'm using to create this cold frame is just scaffolding boards. Now, they're very, very structurally sound. They're fantastic for jobs exactly like this. They're really, really good at putting up with all the weather. They've got great longevity outside, and they're thick as well. So what's quite nice about creating this box is I'm not actually going to have to use an internal frame with different wood. I can put these two together and use them to screw into, and they'll hold nice and firm. So it's a great timber. And also, as it ages, it greys off and looks gorgeous.
Outside the house, the couple's patio dominated the space, so the brothers are replacing some of the slabs with a flower bed.
This patio was really large before, and Pat and Jeremy were slightly overlooked by the windows there, so we thought it'd be a lovely idea just to eat into the patio a bit, create a nice ample-sized planting bed where maybe we can position a tree or a shrub along with some planting, and in turn that's just going to help link all these spaces together. Whee!
David's cold frame is starting to take shape, and Arit is at the next stage of making her mosaic tabletop.
This is just a simple grout mix. It's a regular tile adhesive that I've used, and you might find it easy to have some little napkins to the side. You just want to obviously keep on top of any mess as you go. It's a labour of love.
Arit leaves her mosaic pieces to dry and is free to help Harry plant up his new flower bed.
Where do you want the honeysuckles, love?
I think they look lovely against this wall.
Oh, yeah, that's great. And, of course, when that sun hits these, when they're in flower,
yeah,
that fragrance.
I know, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
One of my favourite climbers, I
Yeah,
would
no,
say.
they're fantastic.
So let's get them into the back, is it?
Where do you want this one? That?
Yes,
That
that's
here?
perfect. Yeah, let's
Is that
start them
all
off,
right?
slightly apart, and they can grow together and cover this wall.
No, fantastic. I have to say, it's really shaping up. What a day.
I know.
What a day.
Good job.
There you go, honeysuckle. Enjoy.
Nice.
To separate the garden into different zones, the brothers are planting 45 yew shrubs that'll form 3 hedges. Because of the size of the shrubs, the team are digging trenches rather than individual holes.
It's get tiring by the end of the day, wouldn't it?
Exactly. Where are these bad boys going?
Look at that, hard at work, isn't he?
Oh,
look at him.
look at that. Back into it, boy.
Beneath the shade of a beautiful tree, Harry. What's the problem, mate?
Taking all the glory, are you two?
Making this hole look pretty, mate, isn't easy
It
work,
is.
I tell you that.
All right, go on then.
Here we are. Look at that. You can see this hedging going in is starting to make a dramatic difference. If you look at it just on the floor, we've got the same cobbles running all the way through this part of the garden, but actually bringing in this line of yew hedging helps to completely split that up. And actually, if you're looking at it from the house, you won't even see this part of the cobbles. You'll just focus on this area. So then when you wander around, this becomes clear. And again, there's a different part of the picture. So it's a really lovely way of creating quite definitive stops within the design, but also linking really nicely with the soft planting as well.
With all the yews in place, Harry does a spot of pruning.
I'm doing this for one reason, and that's because these hedges, they signify order within this garden. And we've got a lot of informality. We've got the original one, which is going to be scattered through the cobbles, just creating a very informal touch. But these hedges, they're quite strict, and they really help to segment this garden, creating these different rooms. So I love the idea of them being really tightly clipped, really defining each space, and being that bit of strength amongst quite loose and natural planting.
Behind the garden, David has nearly finished his cold frame.
So this is just going to be the Perspex lid. So I just created a really simple timber frame. Pre-drilled the holes through this Perspex because we don't want it to crack. And then I'm just going to put some screws in the corners. There may be a couple more just to make sure it's firm. And then this is what is going to keep it nice and warm and cosy. It's going to let lots of light in. It's going to keep a little bit of heat in there as well. And then it'll be as simple as having a couple of hinges on the back, and they'll just lift it up. And there we are. It's that simple. Lovely.
While the yew hedging brings structure, the brothers are contrasting this with soft planting in the borders. They've carefully selected a variety of plants that will remind Jeremy and Pat of their happy days abroad.
I'm planting 2 plants that I feel have a lovely Mediterranean look. First of all is this Escallonia, which is an evergreen shrub with a gorgeous pink flower. And that's quite vibrant, and it's picked up throughout the garden. And here I've got prostrate rosemary. And it's a lovely plant because not only does it have a gorgeous scent to it and has these beautiful dusty blue flowers, but it's a creeper. So it's going to be positioned here, and it's going to be allowed to kind of crawl and creep through these cobbles, just creating a lovely mat. And what's great is that these cobbles will actually absorb sun, and it'll really create a lovely kind of hot spot where it allows the aroma just to kind of drift into the air. So the idea is to really infuse this space with smell, texture and colour.
A problem area in the garden was the unsightly garage, and the brothers have chosen to soften the concrete wall by adding a rather special tree.
Right, it's part of the barrow under.
Oh! One of the widest thing I've ever seen.
I know, it's beautiful.
Taking up the whole van. Isn't this stunning?
It's absolutely stunning.
Right, shall I go in there and...
You get in, I'll drag it. So this is a comis pear, and it's been trained in a fan method. So I think it's going to be a lovely little addition to that back wall, and I think a nice little surprise. If we can get it out.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I'll hold it off the top. Oh, watch that branch there.
Right, look after that now, and I'll just...
That's the badger. Ooh! Much better right here. All okay?
Yeah.
Lovely, well done. Keep it coming. A little bit more. All doing all right?
I like the fan bit, the structure to be on the back, so we need to...
Yeah, that's fine, we can do that. A little bit further. Nice, well then, pause it there and we'll have to just get some people to help us. There's a long tree as well. Nice. And then... down? Yeah. Lovely, thanks, mate. That's perfect, cheers.
They're placing the tree in a hole wide enough for the roots to spread out easily.
Get them in. Nice. Look at that. And actually in spring, it's one of the first fruit trees to blossom. So there's going to be loads of interest on this back wall. As you can see, the leader was cut off early on. It's encouraged horizontal growth at the bottom. And then from there, then you get these lovely, strong growths that create this fan shape. And what's nice, it's all Jeremy and Pat have to do, is just maintain this shape. And then over the years, these stems will thicken, it'll mature, and it's going to create a gorgeous sculpture at the back of the garden.
Lovely. Let's have a look, shall we? Oh, fills that space perfectly.
It does, doesn't it?
I even quite like Mr. Green Man there.
Yeah, he's got to stay there, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's slightly further away from the wall at the moment, but it casts lovely shadows as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can tell it gets the nice little bit of sun later on in the day.
At the other end of the garden, the brothers have created the secluded mindfulness area Pat wanted with a tranquil water feature, and they're surrounding it with sensory plants.
The thing about having the rosemary in the garden, it just means it's going to give this wonderful scent and something that Pat and Jeremy can just go by, brush past it, and obviously use it in the kitchen as well. But by planting it in amongst the cobbles, it just softens the space and just gives everything a real sense of place. I think it looks fabulous.
The brothers have carefully chosen signature trees that will add height, structure and movement.
This is a Prunus myrtifolia, which is pretty much a Portuguese laurel, but the leaves are thinner, much like the myrtle. And what's so lovely is that straight away it gives you a great impact. And it's its shape and its open structure that's going to add a very natural quality to this garden. But really, being evergreen is going to give that structure year-round, which is key within a small garden. You're not going to lose that kind of intimate feeling that these will create. It has lovely white flowers, which almost stand quite vertical, much like a candle, and that often gets followed by a dark red berry. And as you can see, the new growth here is red, so it just adds another quite contrasting look against these green leaves. When I think about a Mediterranean garden, often I love the idea of it looking a little bit more rustic, and I think in turn it creates a bit more of an atmosphere.
Outside the garden, Arit has nearly finished her mosaic table.
So that's the grout mixed. As you can see now, all of the tiles are down, which is great. And all that's left to do is to get the grout on. Fingers crossed the boys are going to like it. And more importantly, fingers crossed Jeremy and Pat are going to like it. Once you're happy that all the grouting has been finished, get your sponge, and it's just a case of wiping it down. It takes a bit of time, but it will all come off. Okay, and then you can see already the difference it's made, that grouting. So you know what it's like, you've been working on something all day, having a smashing time, obviously, in and out the garden, but it's actually looking like a mosaic table.
Harry and David can't wait to see the centrepiece of their seating area.
Oh!
Look at that.
It's stunning.
I'll tell you what,
gorgeous.
there wasn't much sitting. I thought I got the deal of the seating area.
Yeah.
There wasn't much sitting, but you happy?
I love it because it matches the flint cobbles. It's got the same like pattern making and everything. So it's lovely.
Oh, I love it. It does and it matches the water feature in a way that it's got those kind of crystal clear blue waters.
It's a little Mediterranean water moment,
Is this quite therapeutic now, this last little bit?
Well, now it's sort of like, you know, cleaning it off.
You'll just wipe all the grouting out, won't you?
No, but I just wanted to get it looking good for you guys, and then
Stunning.
hopefully...
Oh, they're going to love it.
Yeah.
Really, really nice.
Perfect little addition to the garden.
Exactly.
You have a sit down later.
Have a sit down there. Oh, thanks for that. Thanks for that.
Where do you want it?
Well, I think here.
Arit has finished the tabletop by adding a coat of sealer, and then with her helping hand, positions it in the cobbled courtyard. And the cold frame is placed on the patio.
Well, we got there in the end, didn't it? Yeah. Last piece of the garden, that is.
I'll leave that open for you because I know that you're going to put some plants in there.
I will do.
David's popping in some verbenas to protect them from the frost.
They are nice to have a little bit of colour in there. But this is what this cold frame is all about. It's just looking after these more tender, delicate plants. It keeps them nice and cosy, especially over winter. It means that then, in the following year, they can be taken out and put in the garden. Lovely.
It just takes a few finishing touches, and the garden is complete. Before the garden rescue team arrived, Pat and Jeremy's garden was an uninspiring stretch of lawn, with a large concrete patio at one end and an ugly garage at the other. Now it's had a £5,000 transformation to create a secluded Mediterranean retreat. To bring structure and clearly define the areas of the garden, the brothers have spent £770 on yew hedging. At £600, a stone water feature has been placed in a secluded zone to bring a feeling of calm and tranquility. Cobbles laid in the central courtyard and around the water feature help to create a warm, rustic feel. £2,200 has been spent on a selection of trees, shrubs and flowers native to the Mediterranean, including a dramatic Comis pear tree for £245. To enjoy evening drinks al fresco, the brothers have added a table with a mosaic top for that Mediterranean finishing touch. But what will Pat and Jeremy make of their new garden?
You know that you wanted to have a garden that had the essence of the Mediterranean. It needed to have some structure, nice modern lines, but also a slight kind of rustic character. So, 3, 2, 1, open your eyes.
Whoa!
Well, that's
Wow.
different.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That is fun. And I can already smell the fragrance
There's
in
some
the
lovely
garden.
fragrances in there, yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much.
No worries.
That's brilliant. They just seem so overwhelmed.
That is phenomenal.
Really fits so well and definitely has a Mediterranean touch to it.
And this is fantastic because that was just all paving before.
Yeah, so that's a corner, so that will grow up and give you a little bit of privacy.
And then that's a cold store.
Yeah.
So if there's anything, any little seedlings you want to propagate, or any little tender plants you want to put in over winter, or even a little bit of veg as well over winter, then that's perfect for that. And then, obviously, we've got the flint cobbles on the floor. Is that reminiscent for you of the Mediterranean?
Absolutely. And I'm just thinking of how the sun will warm that up.
Yes.
You know, that would be really beautiful. Brings warmth to the
Definitely a
garden.
touch of Sicily there, I think.
Lovely. Wonderful. Well, shall we take a little wander through?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
we'll be able to look at the spaces a bit better. The length of the water feature.
What is lovely about this is you want to touch this as
Yeah.
well. This is great. I love the way this has got plants in
yes.
the areas as well.
Yeah.
And this will soften the edges and spill over. It will
Okay.
just become very much alive.
Funnily enough, it makes the garden look bigger.
Yes.
Well, I absolutely love it. And what I really love overall is this quality of texture in the garden and that kind of wonder of it. It's really beautiful.
I think that's what's so nice is that, you know, they're just really taken in by the amount of texture that's now in the space, because before it was just such a blank canvas.
And, you know, again, with the table, I'm just noticing, again, that's about textures and
Well, it's
the
the same,
chairs.
it kind of mimics the floor, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's about, and Arit did an amazing job. So that table didn't look like that when she got it.
Oh.
So she's made the mosaic on the top.
That is beautiful. Oh, I'm really, really pleased about that.
I worked hard enough on it. I'm glad that they like it, though.
So the back wall was a bit of an eyesore.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be lovely
right.
to do is actually put a fan-formed pear on there.
Fantastic.
It's gorgeous size. So you're going to get beautiful Comis pears from there,
That's really great.
which will be great. And it's got beautiful autumn colour and blossom in the spring as well. All right, guys, I think you might as well sit down and enjoy the garden.
Yeah.
We will.
Well, was it worth it for you guys?
Blimey, more than worth it, really.
It's totally beyond my expectation.
Yeah, I'm buzzing, really,
yeah, and-
really.
I mean, yeah, it's great because we would never have imagined doing something like this, and yeah, it really works so well.
Yeah, I guess I just want to stay in this garden and not go in.
The designers and landscaping team have gone, leaving Pat and Jeremy to stay out in their garden.
We are absolutely delighted we've chosen this one. It just works so well in this space and makes it such a lovely place to be now.
I just love feeling more connected to this place, and for me it's about being home. So it's our last part of the puzzle to kind of feel at home more. I think we should drink to that, really.